Congratulations, you made it through quarter one of 2024. So, what do we do now? I've got 5 questions for you that are going to help you review how you got on in quarter one and move into quarter two in the best possible way. So, welcome back to another episode of the Freelancers Tea Break, the short and sweet podcast that you can enjoy whilst you're making a cuppa. And this one is going to be all about reviewing quarter one. So we are at the end of March and we've gone through what for a lot of people has been quite a tough quarter. I think 2023 was very tough for a lot of people. 2024 quarter one was still quite tough, but we are starting to see some improvements. But there are 5 questions that I would love for you to ask yourself before you move into quarter two and set your quarter two goals that I think will get you in a really good place. So the very first question I want you to ask yourself is, what were your wins for quarter one? So what are the things that went really well? And I want you to take a moment to celebrate them. When we don't have managers or bosses because we're self-employed, sometimes we don't take that time to reflect and really celebrate how well we did for some things. And that can be the smallest of things. It can be building up the guts to actually say no to a client or say goodbye to a client. It could be upping your prices. It could be winning a new client. It could just be having a video on LinkedIn do really well. So write down all of those wins and celebrate them and put them somewhere, because actually they'll be really lovely to look back on at the end of the year as well. It's so easy when we get to the end of the year to forget all the things that we did. So you can even do make it quite cute. You could have like a jar where you put little pieces of paper with all your wins on it, or a document or a Notion board or a notebook, but try and save them somewhere for you to reflect back on. The second thing I want you to have a think about is, what are your main learnings from quarter one? I don't want to sit here and say what didn't go right, because I think, and this is based on some things I've done around positive intelligence, which is a really good framework, that everything has a lesson or a gift in it. And I think it's really important to work out what that is. So it could be, if a client project went badly, work out what went wrong with it, or what you learned about yourself from it, or what the gift was. Was it that you're no longer working with them? Or it could be you spent loads of time working on, say, your TikTok. That was one for mine for quarter one, and it didn't go quite to plan. So what did you learn from that, and what can you implement going forward? It also makes it easier that you don't then take forward negative things and only feel negative about them. You can see what you can use with them constructively. One thing I do every single month, and actually I do this every week actually with my team, is to sit down and go through all of the statistics of my business. So I will look at all of my social media platforms and what the followings are like on there. I will look at my emails in terms of how many people are subscribing but also unsubscribing, where they might be unsubscribing in my welcome sequence. I look at how many discovery calls I've got booked, and then how many clients I've booked as a result of that. So if you don't do it weekly, monthly is a great time to reflect on where your stats are. And if you haven't done it before, now's a good time to start recording those. I actually use a Notion board, and I think I've got a video on that next week, and a podcast on that next week on all the things that I track in Notion. But I would recommend getting into the habit of, at the end of each quarter or at the end of each month, recording all the different stats that are really important in your business. And I'm not saying followers are the be all and end all, but the larger your audience, the more people you're going to be able to help. But even as a freelancer, knowing your social media stats and things like that can be really beneficial. Don't get too hung up, because like, for example, I can't get too hung up on my email subscribers this quarter, because we had a big clear out of people who weren't necessarily opening the emails, and we had a sequence that went out to check in with people and see if they were still happy. And we did have people that are now no longer the list. So my list has actually dropped in quarter one, but the quality is much better and the open rates are much better. So it was worth it. So that's my third tip, to check your stats. My fourth tip is to check your outgoings. So what are your outgoings, and are they still relevant? So have a look at, see what subscriptions you've signed up for, and what services, and what you still need to do, even down to things like your insurance or your pension. Can your pension go up a bit more? Lots of the providers are a lot more flexible with that now. I actually do have a £9 training on setting up your freelance pension and how to decide it and things like that. So feel free to go have a look at that one. Final one, I would love you to have a look at your to-do list and think, are there any tasks on here that I do not want to bring with me into quarter two? Whether that's you just want to wipe it off the list, you don't want to do it at all anymore, it's irrelevant, or you could do it this week, like a 10, 15, 30-minute task. For me, my passport really needs renewing, so I need to go do that. And I've got a couple of admin tasks that I have been bringing through the last 2 months, actually, that I need to wipe off my list so that I can kind of go into quarter two with a little bit of a fresh start. It just helps a little bit to make you feel like you can really set fresh new goals and build on things. And also, there's nothing worse than starting a new quarter and just having stale tasks there. So I'd really recommend you have a look through that then. I'd love to know what questions you were going to ask yourself at the end of this quarter. Feel free to, if you're watching this on YouTube, comment below or drop me a message on social media. I'm Emma Cossey in most places, or come join us in the Facebook group, the